You're listening to a download from the outdoorstation.co.uk.
Number 325.
Hello and welcome to the first in a series of podcasts sponsored by visitguernsey.com. There's a new book that's been released the summer of 2011 entitled The Channel Island Way, published by Coast Media. And Visit Guernsey have invited us to pop over to the Channel Islands and experience some of the walking activities and walking routes as mentioned in that book around the coast of Guernsey, Herm, Alderney and Sark. The book also includes Jersey as well, but because Jersey is pretty well known by most people, we thought we would take them up on their invite and approach it from the point of view of self-powered travel. We set off this morning from the Midlands and drove down to Weymouth, where we caught one of the Condor ferries which took us over to Guernsey. Within 10 or 15 minutes of arriving in Guernsey, we picked up a ticket which then took us straight to Herm, and Herm is only 20 minutes away from Guernsey. So it was a fairly swift and pleasant trip. Thankfully, the weather when we arrived is very, very pleasant indeed, very sort of mild summer's day, as it should be really in June, and we left behind a fairly dreary and wet, miserable mainland UK. It's worth noting for people that are doing self-powered travel that there is long-term parking at Weymouth, which of course encourages you to do as we're doing, travel by foot or on push bike, and obviously save some money in the process. As I say, we've arrived on Herm, which is the smallest island of the collections of islands, about 2.5 kilometres long and about 1.5 kilometres wide, and it is, an ideal place for people who enjoy self-powered travel indeed, as there's no motor vehicles allowed on the island. There is one campsite, a seagull campsite, and the bookings for that are available over the internet, or you can actually turn up, go to the harbour office, and they'll find a pitch for you. Speaking to them as when we arrived, they were saying that even during the peak summer season, school holidays, there is still a fair amount of place for people who bring their own camping equipment. And the site is beautifully equipped, it's beautifully located right in the centre of the island on a hill, and you've got views of the sea all around. The commercial tents which are available for hire, which will come all inclusive, are all fairly close to each other, but of course there's no cars, so you're not going to have people driving in and out disturbing your peace. But one of the first signs you see as you arrive on Herm is a list of requirements or desires. They would ask you to respect the peace and tranquility of the place, and also enjoy the beautiful surroundings which nature has to offer. As the lady in the harbour office did say, you can never be far away from a lovely sunny beach, because even if the wind is blowing in one particular direction, it'll only take you 20 minutes, half an hour or so to walk to the other side of the island, and you've got a beach in perfect shelter. This evening we're meeting Jonathan Watson, who is the Director of Hospitality on Herm, and I'm sure he's going to give us a long list of the natural wonders and attractions that can be found for people interested in wildlife, nature, and certainly peace and quiet here on the island. It is truly a very, very quiet place. And if there's one thing that Rose and I have both mentioned straight away, is that sudden silence. There isn't that background roar of traffic or activity which you get wherever you are pretty well in the mainland UK. We're about to set off and go down to the metropolis, aren't we, Rose?
Oh yes, busy metropolis. There must be at least maybe 2 pubs and a few houses and a gift shop. But it's already gorgeous. It looks really lovely here, and there's a few things we're hoping to spot. Apparently it's a good time to see the puffins, so looking forward to that.
Okay, so I think we'll go head down now and have our crab sandwich and see what the island has to offer.
Herm, despite being the smallest island in the book, certainly has a charm all of its own. It's easy to see why people return time and time again, as the tranquility of the place certainly creeps upon you. Something we found out after we began striding out at the start of the 4-mile circumference. Within a very short distance, the stride became a stroll as we started to take in the views and history. Not long after that, it turned into a bit of a wander, looking down at the small sailing boats in the bays and daydreaming. Of course, we completed the circuit. However, it was, shall we say, more a meander by the time we returned to our tent to watch the sun go down. After covering long distances on previous walks, the time we would normally spend getting on was spent more on zoning out, slowing down and breathing in our surroundings at their own graceful pace.
You're listening to the award-winning UK Business Podcaster of the Year.
The home of UK-based audio and video podcasts for lovers of the great outdoors everywhere.
Podcasts are based solely around self-powered travel.
This is the Outdoor Station.
I think you'll find the people who really enjoy the peace and tranquility of the island are the people that regularly come back. They come here to get away from everything. They come here to meet up with friends that they've made over the years on the island. But the greatest thing that we want is people to leave us with a desire to return.
I certainly get a feeling from being here for 24 hours, there's definitely two kinds of visitor. There's the day visitor that perhaps takes little away with them apart from photographs, and there are the ones who return of all ages on a regular basis, but they perhaps tend to be more family orientated.
It's difficult. There are a number of different markets and a number of different areas that we pitch our business to. Day visitors is certainly one. They're attracted to come across if they're on holiday or if they actually live in Guernsey. And then there are those people who come and stay with us, and they could stay in the hotel, they could stay in the self-catering cottages or on the campsite, and they all come for different reasons. Many of them, though, have been coming before. That is families, that is people whose younger family have grown up, and they have come out of the traditional family times like July and August and visit in April, May and September to avoid other people's children, as it were. There are a great group of people and a mix of people that keep returning, but they all do so for slightly different reasons.
It's an interesting place because of the size of it. One can assume that there isn't an awful lot going on. But each area of the coast, each facing of the coast has certainly got a different character.
Every area of the island has got different characters, you're absolutely right. But the best thing is that every day, and by the changing of every tide, each area changes its own perspective as well. But it's interesting when you ask about not really having that much to do. One of the nicest quotations I've ever heard about Herm is Herm Island, not enough to do, not enough time to do it all in.
Yeah, I like that. That's very good, yes.
That sums it up beautifully.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you've got beautiful beaches. I mean, it's remarkable to actually think you travel miles and miles to get to a beach like that, and actually here it is right on the doorstep.
Yeah, I think people they can see our glossy pictures in our brochures, but it's only truly when they step on the island that they can see that our photos are not airbrushed. That is a true representation of what you're going to see when you come to the island. The sun shines and the waters are turquoise. The sand is almost white, and the shells on Shell Beach are prevalent. So everything that we say is true. And just seeing the delight of people that have never been before, that's one of the greatest satisfactions of being here.
The way that you've laid it out is beautifully done. It's very easy for casual walkers, obviously children as well, very safe. The paths are clear, there's nothing confusing about the paths. There's lots of rest stops every sort of couple of 100 metres or so. There's nice to see litter bins as well, and that's obviously subtle, but they're there to remind people obviously to use them. And down on the two main beaches there, you've obviously got a little cafe that's open at certain times of the year. It's very inviting and very, what should I say, safe from a family point of view.
I think it is. It's safe from everybody's point of view. Only recently have we actually put locks on the hotel bedroom doors, only because one or two guests actually thought that they should have, not because they need them. We in our own house don't have locks on our house. Lord knows if there's a key. So it's safe from that perspective. It's safe also that children, my own children, I'm quite happy for them to go out on their own. They leave the house at 8 in the morning, and quite often they'll be back at 6 o'clock in the evening because they've just run out of steam or got hungry. It's safe from so many different perspectives. It's lovely because there is a good deal of ownership from the island of other people's children by the island residents and also by those on holiday. If they see somebody that might be getting themselves into an awkward situation, they will go and intervene. I don't think there are that many places left on the planet that you can do that. You can do it safely and you can do it honestly and openly here. The pathways are all designed so that it's a mix of walking. The north end of the island allows flat, easy, gentle walking, and also if people are using buggies, pushchairs, they can easily move about. The south coast offers something slightly different. Usually you'll get a brisk southerly wind there, which adds a rugged feature. So geographically, it gives a great contrast to both sides of the island.
You mentioned earlier on that it's all part of a business, and I understand, looking at some of the brochures on the way over, that the island itself is leased. So perhaps you could spend a few minutes to explain the practicality and the functionality of that, and also, the infrastructure, the electricity and water. Obviously, it's not being piped over from Guernsey. So how does it all work?
Well, the island is owned by the States of Guernsey. We lease the Herm Island Limited, as we are the company that leases the entire island, all of the buildings, all of the businesses from the States of Guernsey. So Herm Island Limited literally runs an island. In terms of power, water, we're not plugged in. We don't have pipelines. We have our own cargo boat that brings all of our goods and services over to the island. That brings diesel. We pump the diesel up into 3 generators, and that provides electricity for the entire island. Water is collected from 7 boreholes. We pump water into a reservoir, treat it, and then that is pumped down to anywhere that needs water. It's great being a self-sufficient nation. We are almost a self-sufficient country and nation in our own right. However, we do depend on Guernsey. We follow the legislation. As far as legislation goes, we are part of St Peter Port South. There isn't a 3-mile bridge between us, but we follow everything. Our taxes are all paid to the States of Guernsey, and they're responsible actually for the upkeep of 1 or 2 areas on the island, such as the harbours and the quays. Because the island is leased as a whole, we are in control of everything that happens on the island. Saying that, the island is a public place during daylight hours. The lease states that we must allow people free access to the island, apart from the private areas, perhaps the hotel, people's own houses and this kind of thing. But certainly the public areas people are allowed to during daylight hours. Nightfall, it actually changes. It becomes a private destination. That's great for our control point of view, because then we're able to know exactly who is on the island and where they're staying. We do ask that people only camp where we ask them to camp in the campsites, so they're not allowed to just pitch up a tent wherever they'd like, although it must be highly tempting for some, because some of the areas are just stunning. But fishing overnight we do allow. If somebody just gives us a call and says, I'd like to come and night fish, perfect. We're more than happy for people to do that, and there's some terrific fishing that can happen from either the beaches, the cliffs, or even just from the quays. Once all the boats have gone away and died down, you get a lot of fish that will come in very close.
You're listening to the outdoorstation.co.uk. The home of UK-based audio and video podcasts for lovers of the great outdoors everywhere.
You were saying, I think, at one stage that at a certain time of year the bass almost jump out on the hook themselves.
There's a period of time that on the west coast of the island, on Bears Beach and Fisherman's Beach, as the tide starts to come in, after it's been a nice warm day, the sun has warmed up the sand, and that warms up the local water to that beach. And the bass do almost, you can see them just 3, 4, 5 feet off the shoreline, dancing around in the water there. They'll break the top. You could almost reach out and touch them, which is fascinating. Just on that coast as well, we have the oyster beds. There's a small islet that's joined at low tide by a causeway called Hermetier. Just to the north of that, we have an oyster farm, which is probably one of the best oyster farms in the world, producing some absolutely fabulous quality oysters that are available throughout Guernsey, and we do actually serve them in the White House Hotel also.
This morning, as we were packing up and heading down here, I noticed there were a handful of school children all ready to obviously go to school. You've got a school yourself here?
We have got a school ourselves. We've got a primary school. They teach from reception through to 11 on Herm, and currently there are 8 children in the school. Now, they go to Herm School on a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday and Friday, but on a Wednesday they go over to Guernsey and they integrate into larger classes, just so they get used to other children, so they're not wholly schooling with just the 7 other children that are in the class here. But it's a fantastic education. It's a great start, a 1 on 8 pupil teacher ratio, and what they do is just fabulous. They produce school plays, they produce the nativity at Christmas, they do everything that other schools do, but they probably do it better.
There's a proud father if I've ever heard one. Tell me a bit more about the community. I'm always fascinated to know with destinations that we visit what it's like actually when everybody's gone, and you know what's the core community and how it expands during obviously tourist season. You rely totally on tourism, I presume.
Yes, we are 100% a tourist destination. We have a population of 58 people in total. That includes the children. There are those that school primarily here on the island, and secondary school children would weekly board in Guernsey if necessary. Once the season has calmed down, late October, early November, it almost, the population shrinks to just the 58 of us. It's a great feeling. There's almost a celebration that's great, that's a season well done. But there's a huge amount of work starts in the preparation from the day we close to the day we open in preparation for the next season.
So that's the 50-odd of the base community. How many do you expand to during, obviously, the summer season?
During the summer season, we have 93 seasonal staff that come and join us to work on the island. Now, probably half of those are 6-month contracts. The island pretty much is a 6-month seasonal destination. However, the busiest key months are July and August, so the shortest contracts are around about 8 weeks, something like that. And that takes care of that peak season part. We attract them from all over the globe, literally. We bring them in from Australia, New Zealand, Canada. You've met a couple of our Canadian waiting staff who are larger than life and just brings a totally different dimension to the island. It's brilliant seeing them come in because they're all timid, they're all nervous, they all, we hope, know exactly what to expect, but they're always just a little bit shy to start off with. You then see nationalities integrate and they become lifelong friends. Things like social media like Facebook keeps them in touch year after year after year, and it's great for me personally as well to keep in touch with people that I worked with half a dozen years ago here and still understanding how they're developing, how their life on Herm just for 6 months has changed their perspective on everything else they do, just because they've met such a wide and diverse bunch of people that otherwise they probably wouldn't have come across.
Going back to the community aspect, you obviously do a whole range of things. There's a beer festival you mentioned. There's a running race around the island. Just give me a list of some of the things that go on.
There are. I mean, the beer festival this year, it's the first time that we've done it. It was thought of actually by our pub manager who was laid up in hospital for a couple of weeks and obviously got a little bit bored and decided to put this project together. It was brilliant. So, I mean, that's going to be a firm fixture. The Herm Run is on the first Saturday in August. Always takes place, come rain or shine, and it's around about 3 miles. It's a fun run, it's not serious. However, there are 1 or 2 people that take it slightly more serious than others, and I think the record stands around 17 minutes, which is very, very quick. Certainly by my standards, if I can break half an hour, I'm delighted. Then a slightly more genteel sport is the annual bull tournament, which is the second weekend of August. And that's organised not by the island, but by the visitors. The visitors that have been coming for years and years and years, families, there must be a group of 50 or 60 of them. They've just met on Herm by holidaying in the same location for a long period of time. They play the annual bull tournament. It's been played since 1957 or something.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
There is a proud trophy, which is a bedpan on a stand. And there's always a funny story when I take that in to be engraved because I'm always known as the potty man from Herm. Anyway.
Do you get many French coming over to that, surely?
No. We haven't told the French just yet. But, I mean, it is fiercely contested. But also this year, for the first time ever, we're having a cricket match on the island. We have taken a cow field and made it into a cricket pitch. The Lord's Taverners have challenged us to do this. It's a match that they've held for the last 30 years in the islands. We have it for the next 5 years. We've put a cricket pitch together. We expect some TV celebrities, some former England cricket players to come over with the likes of Chris Tarrant, Tim Rice, to join in a fabulous day. That this year is the 17th of July. I don't know the date for next year, but it hasn't been set yet. But that is just another feather in our cap and something else that we'll be looking forward to hosting this year.
A lot of our listeners would be interested in certainly the family aspect of visiting with young children and grandchildren, I'm sure, and all the values that Herm offers. But you say you're sort of closed. Is there a closing point? I'm thinking of people perhaps who want really tranquility, come over, perhaps slightly out of season, away from the school holidays. Is it possible to do that and come up to the campsite?
It is. When I say closed, really the season is dictated by when the hotel opens and closes. And that does open at the beginning of April and closes halfway through October. It is a misgiving because there are self-catering cottages that are open all year round. The Mermaid Tavern is open all year round. OK, there's a couple of days a week that it doesn't open because there just simply is very few people around. But they can stock up on groceries and quite happily live in a self-catering cottage. Winter offers a completely different feel to the island. If people really do want a really tranquil, almost not lonely, but you know what I mean. It's somewhere where they can get away and be alone either on their own or as a family. This is a fabulous destination. I can't guarantee the weather quite so much in winter, but there usually are periods of time where you can get out and about without the rain, and it just offers fabulous solitude.
So, to answer the question then, obviously camping is available all year round should people want to do it?
Camping isn't available all year round. Our campsite does close down at the end of September, but our self-catering cottages are the ones that the accommodation that we can offer throughout the winter also.
I think you touched on last night that you sometimes offer the island or a collection of the properties for corporate use. Does that also hold for things like weddings and that sort of thing?
Yes, we have our own chapel on the island, and guests can get married in that chapel. Or if the chapel is limited to about 50 people, so if the weddings are for a larger congregation, quite often what will happen is that guests will get married in Guernsey and then come across here. They can certainly take the marquee, they take restaurants, they take a vast amount of the hotel, holiday cottages. One couple last year took the whole hotel and all of the self-catering cottages and made it almost their home for a weekend. They can then do activities like clay pigeon shooting. We did a champagne tasting for a group that didn't want to go outside. We gave them rib rides to go and see the puffins and the seals and this kind of thing. So there are so many things that we can do if people have taken the majority of the accommodation for either a corporate or a family social gathering.
I must congratulate you, really, because as an island and a tourist destination, you're not resting on your laurels. You're actually thinking quite very forward-thinking as regards what you offer, but keeping it within the discipline and parameters of what Herm stands for.
We have 75 to 80% of our guests that visit year after year. We wouldn't push anything greatly to change anything on the island. Any change must be sympathetic. However, we do need to move forward, and we like to think that we move forward in a very positive way. We do embrace technology where it will fit within the parameters of the operation. However, the thing that we have to make sure, and the one guiding principle that we need to keep as the top of our priority, is the natural peace and beauty of this island. If we lose that, we lose Herm. We will hold on to that for dear life.
You're listening to theoutdoorstation.co.uk. The exciting new way to see and hear free information about the outdoors world. Visit our website, theoutdoorstation.co.uk, for more information.
Well, the Travel Trident ferry has just dropped us back at Guernsey Port, where we're ready for the next leg of our journey. It's only a 20-minute journey, and it's quite sweet, really. What are your lasting impressions of Herm, then?
Very, very quiet, very beautiful, very timeless.
Timeless, yeah, that's a very good word, actually. I think it would be a super break, as Jonathan very clearly explained, for people who want to share the sort of simple values. I don't think he mentioned it, but there are actually no televisions on the island. Loud music and iPods are frowned upon. There's a sign indicating that when you get there. So I think that pretty well describes that it's the simple values of spending time with young family and time on your own and enjoying, well, some very, very high quality destination, beach. Tranquility, yes. So ideal from that point of view. Just touching on the sort of gear that you would need, or wouldn't need, I suppose, nearer the truth. We felt slightly overdressed with our super lightweight equipment. A lot of people were day walkers and day visitors, and you can certainly manage to get round the islands just wearing normal leisure clothes, but perhaps it's a bit more comfortable if you've got the appropriate footwear. If you wanted to camp, you can keep it fairly simple. I mean, you just need a tent and sleeping equipment, and pretty well everything else can be purchased around you. A breakfast, evening meal and so on.
Well, there was a small grocery that you could get sort of basic tinned food, a bit of frozen food and sort of instant meals.
Yeah, I think if you were staying for any length of time, then if you brought some packed food or backpacking food, you could be fairly self-sufficient from that point of view. But otherwise, everything is available on the island to make life simple. Yeah, really enjoyed that. Really enjoyed the whole ethos to the place. Well, we're ready for our next leg of the journey now. As you can hear, there's a bit of a breeze here on the quay as we wait for the ferry, which is going to take us over to Sark. And we've got 24 hours to enjoy what Sark has to offer.
Looking forward to it.
My thanks to everyone involved in this episode and to the sponsor of the Channel Island Way series, visitguernsey.com. More information about the remarkable island of Herm can be found at herm.com, and this includes travel to and from the island, accommodation, special activities throughout the year, videos and even live webcam. Our guide, The Channel Island Way, is published by Channel Island map specialists Coast Media and written by Blue Badge guide Arthur Lamy. The book is available from amazon.co.uk, priced at $9.95, and in visitor centres and book retailers throughout the islands. Join us next time as we visit the island of Sark and learn more about its unique dark sky.
This sponsored programme has been brought to you by theoutdoorstation.co.uk.